Hello, my name is Jane Benton, CPPO, the Arkansas NIGP Program Chairman. I've been a member of Arkansas NIGP for 20 years and enjoy sharing pertinent procurement information with other members. The Program Committee realizes that everyone cannot make every meeting and that there is a need to communicate with chapter members between those meetings. In this age of technology, the committee decided to try developing podcasts so members can download and listen at their convenience. As you know, the state of Arkansas recently finished the 2015 legislative session. Today, I will be discussing the new laws affecting procurement that were passed during this session. Since Arkansas NIGP has members from state agencies, cities, counties, airports, and school districts, I will mention all procurement-related acts, and each member will have to determine which ones apply to their entity. The acts are grouped by entity type, such as state agency, municipality, county, school districts, etc. This presentation will also be listed in today's podcast notes on the chapter website for reference purposes. A lot of people are unfamiliar where to go online to view a new law, which is called an act until it is codified into law. Enter the following URL into your web browser: www.arkleg.state.ar.us. On the left-hand side of the web page, there are several headings: legislators, committees, acts, bills and resolutions, etc. We will concentrate today on the acts header. Under Acts, click on Search Acts. Since these are coming from the most recent session and the 90th General Assembly is already checked for the date range, leave that as it is. On the right side of the screen, there is a blank field entitled Act Number. This is where you will enter the Act number, numbers only, to pull up a specific act. For example, enter number 147 and click Enter, no spaces. This will pull up the link to the act. Click on the link and it will take you to the full document. Once inside the act, you can scroll up or down, backwards or forward as needed to read the entire act. You may also print a copy if desired. Now that you know where to go online to find the acts, let's get started. I am making a disclaimer here. This information is offered to Arkansas NIGP members as a service, and any errors, omissions, or misquotes are simply mistakes. Many acts are quite lengthy, and I'm giving a very high-level overview for the podcast. Each member should read the complete acts and consult with their legal counsel regarding the full impact to their entity. Our first category is the new laws that are applicable to all public Arkansas entities. You may wish to follow along on the PowerPoint slides. Act 600. This act creates fair and open competition in construction projects. An Arkansas entity must remain neutral in the language that they place into a solicitation or contractual documents in regard to collective bargaining organizations, in other words, unions. This law takes effect July 22nd. Act 866. This act regulates bidding practices for construction projects. It applies to construction projects where a contractor is required to furnish a performance and payment bond. A contractor shall be entitled to 95% of the earned progress payments when due. A public agency may retain 5% to assure faithful performance and completion of the construction contract, or they may withhold retainage throughout the entire project. A public agency may forego withholding a retainage of performance payments if the construction contract is 50% complete, the contractor has provided the work in a satisfactory manner, design professional and public servants agency agree with all of the conditions of the contract. Everything discussed previously in Act 866 also applies to performance and payment bonds regarding subcontractors. This law takes effect July 22nd. Act 1048 requires all prime contractors and subcontractors performing construction work when their portion of the project is $50,000 or greater to be licensed by the Contractors Licensing Board. This act did not raise the bidding threshold from $20,000 as it currently is. This law takes effect July 22nd. Act 1120 promotes fair and equitable allocation of liability in construction contracts. It adds 3 new definitions used in construction contracts and amends the current laws pertaining to hold harmless and indemnification clauses contained in those construction contracts. This law takes effect July 22nd. Our next category relates to all state agencies. Act 281 creates a new section in the state procurement law concerning the experience required for offerers and bidders. When you issue a solicitation and there's a certain amount of experience required, a vendor response may now include the amount of experience of the company or the combined experience of its owners or senior executive staff, or the combined amount of experience of the key personnel that will be responsible for satisfying the requirements of this specific contract. The Office of State Procurement or agency procurement official may determine that the combined experience of the key personnel of a bidder would be insufficient to adequately satisfy the requirements. This must be written and placed in the solicitation file. This law takes effect on July 22nd. Act 557 amended the laws concerning the procurement of services and the reporting requirements for state agencies under Arkansas Code Annotated 19-11-267. This act has multiple components. The first component is created a new section in the state procurement law 19-11-267 requiring a state agency, board, commission, or institution of higher education to use performance-based standards in service contracts. The state procurement director is charged with promulgating rules necessary to implement and administering this type of contract. The second component requires additional reporting by the state procurement director and agency procurement officials for the following types of contracts. As we all know, there is a difference between review and reporting to the Arkansas Legislative Council. Review is sent over to ALC prior to the execution of a contract, and reporting is sent after the fact. The first one is, let's go over review by the ALC. Before the execution of a contract for services of individuals, if the contract amount is at least $100,000. Professional and consultant service contracts when the contract amount is at least $50,000. What's new in reporting to the ALC? A quarterly report of all purchases made by state agencies using cooperative purchasing agreements. A monthly report of all service contracts totaling between $25,000 and $100,000. A monthly report of all professional and consultant service contracts totaling between $10,000 and $50,000. There also is a new report that when a contract amount is at least $25,000, a state agency shall report a vendor's performance at least every 3 months and at the end of that contract. The Office of State Procurement must review contracts procuring technology or services greater than $100,000 to ensure that all required information has been submitted to the DFA Office of Intergovernmental Services for a review of proper planning and technical requirements before the execution of a contract. This also includes those contracts issued under a cooperative agreement. The third component of this act added a penalty for an intentional violation of anyone who purposely violated the state procurement laws under Title 19, Chapter 11. If found guilty, they are charged with a Class D felony, which is punishable up to 6 years in prison and up to $10,000 in fines. There will be promulgated rules and detailed requirements for state agencies forthcoming from the Office of State Procurement. This law takes effect August 1st, 2015. Act 1287 updates the Arkansas Ethics Commission's authority and includes a new section in the procurement ethics. Arkansas Code Annotated 19-11-718 creates a new Special State Employee Conflict of Interest. This act adds and refers to a person appointed to a covered board. This allows the Arkansas Ethics Commission to promulgate rules for the new section, issue advisory opinions and guidelines, and investigate alleged violations after a citizen has filed a complaint to the Commission. A special state employee has to file a conflict of interest disclosure with the Secretary of State's office within 5 business days from when they become aware of their conflict. If a special state employee has a conflict of interest, they are restricted from influencing the covered board's decision on any procurement matter. This act is not applicable to an institution of higher education. This law takes effect on July 22nd. Our next category applies to specific state agencies. Act 218 abolishes the Arkansas Lottery Commission and places this office within the Department of Finance and Administration. This is a very long act, and only part of it affects procurement. In regard to procurement, the act removes the authority for the Arkansas Lottery to have its own procurement official and repeals the exemption for major procurement contracts from the Procurement Laws. This act had an emergency clause, so it's already in effect. The lottery is now a part of the Department of Finance and Administration. Act 704 updates procurement procedures for a design-build new construction contract with the State Highway Commission Department. This law takes effect July 22nd. Act 851 is very specific to the Attorney General's office. When the Attorney General's office determines that a contingency fee contract with a private attorney is necessary, they must create a written determination, and it must be posted on the state's transparency website for public inspection within 5 business days after the date the contract is executed. This will remain posted for the duration of the contingency fee contract. The AG's office must also post every payment made under this contract on the transparency website within 15 days after the payment is made, and leave it on there for at least 1 calendar year after the payment. This law takes effect July 22nd. Act 1096 pertains to the administration of a lethal injection at the Department of Correction. The Act states that the identities of the persons who participated in the execution process are not subject to disclosure under the Freedom of Information Act, including the procurement staff who ordered the drug. This act had an emergency clause, so the act is already in effect. Act 1271 increased the number of vehicle slots for higher education institutions only. This act had an emergency clause, so the act is already in effect. The next category is addressed for municipalities. Act 147 creates an exemption from state procurement law to allow a municipality to purchase services and commodities to maintain and operate utility facilities on a federal military installation. This act had an emergency clause, so it's already in effect. Act 1059 allows a municipality to grant by ordinance up to a 5% preference to the lowest qualified bid from a firm resident in the municipality when purchasing commodities or services by competitive bidding. The Act contains definitions and directions to implement this Act, so please read it closely for further guidance. This Act takes effect July 22nd. Act 1275 applies only to counties and municipalities. It adds an additional subchapter in Arkansas Code Annotated 14-164 relating to energy efficiency projects. A municipality or county may enter into an installment payment contract or lease purchase agreement with a qualified provider for the purchase and installation of an energy efficiency project. A municipality or county may issue bonds for an energy efficiency project within, near, or within and near the municipality or county. This takes effect July 22nd. This section applies to counties only. Act 232 authorizes counties to purchase excess, surplus, or unused bridge steel or materials from the general contractor from certain public works projects after the project's finished. This act takes effect July 22nd. Act 1275 applies only to counties and municipalities and adds an additional subchapter in ACA 14-164 relating to energy efficiency projects. A municipality or county may enter into an installment payment contract or lease purchase agreement with a qualified provider for the purchase and installation of an energy efficiency project. A municipality or county may issue bonds for an energy efficiency project within or near the municipality or county. This takes effect July 22nd. This category applies only to school districts. Act 394 added incorporated town into the definition of who can receive donated buildings or real property from a school district. This act takes effect July 22nd. Thank you for your participation in Arkansas NIGP. We hope this podcast is beneficial to you. If you have a specific topic you wish to have addressed, please notify the current Arkansas NIGP president. Thank you.